But I just want to shift now. How did you end up with NCA? Because you got quite a
Oh,
remarkable history.
well, I covered this with you outside this chat, but you know,
Right.
I was with the PPC, and for me, the PPC was not strong enough. I viewed them as just conservative light,
Yes.
LITE,
Yeah.
and then they are a globalist libertarian. They have that libertarian tinge. Now, the libertarian tinge is interesting to me because ultimately it will play into the globalist agenda. So you have a guy like Bernier, and Bernier had his, he says, well, his policies for PPC are his campaign policies. Okay. You look at those policies, and yet they're going into this election saying that we have no time for a convention, no time for individual members to participate in party policy. And for me, that was unreal. I don't know any political party that goes into an election with campaign policies that are not coming from the grassroots, coming from provincial organizations or individual ridings. So I was part of that party because they were a new party. I knew about NCA, as I've said, and I was following NCA, online and in videos and what you were doing in meeting average Canadians and educating them about, and sort of, I didn't know fully the history of the NCA, but I knew out west there was something going on. Okay. And, I simply got to the point where I realized that this party is not only organizationally, what did Bernier call Scheer's Conservative Party? Bankrupt or
Corrupt.
bereft
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
I viewed the PPC that way. So I was like, this is everything is just coming from a typical Gatineau office and they had this individual from Ottawa who ran for everything and he was abusive and stuff. And I thought this party is not going anywhere. They didn't answer any emails. They didn't answer any phone calls. I was involved in their EDA here in St. Catharines. And I realized that this is not a party that is organizationally sound.
And you were, yeah, go ahead.
Whereas I simply went to NCA and I kept reading. And I started with your immigration views that it should be 50,000. My views were it should be 50,000 or less or tied to the GDP at best, right?
Yeah, yeah.
If our GDP is only 1.8, then there has to be a consideration. All this left-wing agenda, well, Canadians, that it's constantly for the past, we'll say 15 to 25 years, rammed down our throats. The Canadians are aging. The Canadians need skilled labor. The Canadians don't have education. Wow. All of it lies. Canadians are the most well-educated, skilled people in the Western Hemisphere in G7. And yet we're being told by the left-wing globalist agenda, mainstream media, that there's only one view, on immigration tied to our economy. Wow. When did that become the doctrine, the mantra of society that there's only one view? Remember what I said. I started with the NDP being thrown out because I simply questioned an administrative rule.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is full circle.
Yeah, interesting.
Going back to 17 years old. In other words, if you question anything, administratively or politically, in the Liberals or the NDP, the Liberals are now a dominant force that says by the leader, if you don't agree with our policies on anything, you're out. You're out. There's no debate in those parties anymore. Yeah. So we have a fight within that party between Bernier and Scheer on one of the mainstream center-left party. The Conservatives are not a right-wing, not a right-of-center party. They're just another, a light of the Liberals or the NDP. So, they're stealing each other's policies. Again, Canadians are left holding the bag, literally the economic bag.
Yeah.
And policy-wise. So, anyway.
You were actually slated to be a PPC candidate.
I was. because it ended up that two or three other people offered their names. I didn't even know this. I offered my name very late, and they dropped out. And all of a sudden, I was the candidate. And immediately I said, well, what organization do we have? You know, again, organizationally back to Gatineau, and there was this void. There was this echo. The only thing they wanted was just candidates. That's all. They wanted to say we had a candidate in XYZ riding. And yet, what party policy? Well, we'll give it to you. I should be able to recite it without them giving it to me, right? I can recite NCA type policies because I believe in those policies all along. I'm not joining you. You're actually joining me.
Yeah,
Right?
excellent point. Another thing too is that you were encouraging policy development, and they said, "Oh, don't worry about it."
No, we'll deal with it after the election. We will deal with it after the election was their official.
Unbelievable. So they're running basically without policy.
On many issues.
Yes.
And if they're asked, they respond, oh, we have a policy, we'll get back to you. They'll hang up the phone, or they'll get back to you by email and give you the policy after you request it. You can't access it. And this is stupid. This is dumb politics.
Well, you know what's happening? Some of their grassroots is copying NCA.
Right.
And it's not even their policy.
Right.
They're plagiarizing. We've actually had candidates for them actually quote word for word as if it's them when it was one of our members.
Well, as you know, People's Party of Canada was only registered in September last year. And so they will take, policies from other groups, right? And from other political parties. So we already know that. But what bothered me the most was that they were like conservative sheer light. And we don't need conservative sheer light. We need an independent, right of center for Canadians.
Yes,
right?
100%. Because, Canadians are sold out, Rob.
Yeah, exactly.
They've been sold out for decades to these globalist interests.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
Whether you live in Quebec City, or you live in Calgary, or you live in some of the major metropolitan areas, you are the victim of many of these political parties' policies. And you have no input, no choice, according to them, into that. Only the elite of the political parties determine that. And that's not a grassroots party. I'm not talking about populism here. Populism is, many of our populist parties were born in the West because of Western alienation. The CCF actually was born in the West out of labor farm, right? I'm not talking about that type of populism. Their type of populism is nowhere near that anymore. It's long gone. 70, 80 years old back in the prairies. It's long gone, Stephen. So now we have an elitists who are mainly in cities. 75, 80% of Canadians live in cities, who are determining the national interests for Canada that is actually working to the detriment of Canadians. I want to come back to China just for as a specific issue. China is now using fentanyl to disrupt the real estate market. And I raised these reports from the BC government with PPC. Mm-hmm. What was PPC's response? Nothing. They would just listen to you and take whatever you say, and they would steal your policy. And most of the policies came from the NCA. Yeah. So you're exactly right. Now Now we see a shift. I asked you at one point, why do you think Bernier went from 250,000 he was claiming, the old number that they were at, and now they're up at 350,000, which is all a lie, because students come here to the 250,000 mark and they stay in Canada. They don't leave. Mm-hmm. I know that personally. There was an immigration force that I applied for in Mississauga to work because I was so interested in the issue primarily. And it was all fraudulent. They're using the British company that does licenses here in Ontario to do immigration extraditions and deportations. Okay, what deportation is more an American term. It's an extradition. You have to voluntarily leave or they come and get you.
Mm-hmm.
This is unreal, okay? Because actually no one is being very few numbers. And mostly it's just, you know, people who have a criminal record. You know, the only way they pop up in their system, provincially to federally, is because they've committed crimes. And so next thing you know, they'll be there to, you know, say, they'll give them a deportation order within 30 days or, you know, their appeals are over, et cetera. And the appeals can go on for years. We now have people using that. And then the government turning around and trying to boost the immigration refugee board, but claiming that that's the problem. Oh, that's just the problem. No one leaves, okay? No one leaves. It's more than 500, 600,000 people per year that are coming into Canada. It's not 250,000. It's not 350,000. They're lying to you.